All right, so welcome back, everybody, to Second Scout. I'm your host, Potato RTS. With me, as always, is DrDabston. So we missed last week. I was sick, so basically, I came home from work every day and went straight to bed. So
Phew.
so it didn't feel like
Was
doing
it
a podcast.
was it the vid?
It was not. I tested negative twice, so it was not
Okay,
the vid.
okay.
I don't know what it was, but it hit me pretty good. But what have you been doing since we last recorded?
I hadn't really streamed as much recently because I had a root canal that was very painful and it was very struggling to talk nonstop. It wasn't very enjoyable, and it even playing games was a struggle at times. So sometimes I would kind of find myself playing a few games and then just being like, all right, I'm done. I gotta just kind of deal with this the best it can. I got that done. It's kind of past me. I still have another somewhat thing to do with it, but it doesn't hurt as much anymore.
Well, sounds like a good time. Did you eat a lot of ice cream afterwards?
None at all.
Isn't that a thing they tell you to do?
I no idea.
Uh,
They did not tell me to eat ice cream. They just said, "All right,
oh
good
no,
luck."
that's when you get your tonsils out. Never mind.
Yes, that.
Okay,
Yep,
there we go.
tonsils. You
All
know,
right. Well,
same thing.
same thing. Mouth, throat area. So yeah, got a lot to talk about this week. But we're gonna start with the fun stuff, right? So last week we had Gamescom and we got new civs coming. So free DLC. So really happy with that. Microsoft could have gone with the short term gain option and charged money for it, but they made the correct long term decision, in my opinion, to make it free and sort of kind of build this game up.
Yeah, and
And
not only with the announcement, they also had a free to play,
mhm,
5 days or so, and a half
yep,
off sale, which was
yep,
quite significant. So they kind of got a glimpse of what the player numbers could do, even just with a couple day period, and it definitely skyrocketed on up to about a 30 something k peak, 30K peak, I think.
mhm,
So maybe a sign of things to come on some more sales, especially when these civs come out potentially.
yep. So if you are new, if you've just kind of downloaded Age of Empires 4 and been messing around with it for a week or so, definitely check out Low Elo Legends. Be a link in the description down there. So if you play against some people of all skill levels, definitely a good time.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a
yeah,
lot of news regarding that, but we'll probably leave that for another week as it is still a little bit of time to come there.
yeah. So Civs, so DLC will be out October 25th, and so that's I think the day before the main Red Bull event starts. So the Civs will be available to play there. I believe they confirmed that. Uh, I heard BC talking about it a while
They
ago.
said that, but then I kind of feel like they repealed it, and then I'm not really sure what the end goal was. So I'm not for sure if we'll get to see them there or not. But if we do, they will have time to play them because they're coming
Hmm.
out on the PUP here this month.
Yep. Yeah. PUP launching sometime in September. I haven't seen a date, but should be soon. So keep an eye out for that. You can test out the new civs for yourself, try them in all the various matchups. So yeah, that'll be exciting. I've never done the PUP, but I'm definitely going to do it this time. I gotta play those civs early.
Yeah, I think this will be the thing that like I feel like every PUP was like, oh, there's not that many people, it's kind of dead. But now this time I feel like the PUP is going to be more active than like the ranked
Yep.
quick match, whatever side of things.
Yeah, I think your ranked queue times might be kind of long because everybody's messing with the new civs, but um, yeah, we're definitely going to see something at Red Bull, whether it's a show match or if they do let the competitors use them for the tournament, because Microsoft's definitely going to want to show off the new toys.
100% on that
Yeah,
note. We'll definitely get some sort of glimpse of them, some good in-game play with some high level pros.
hmm be pretty fun. So first civ up, we have the Ottomans. So not going to go through every single detail because I'm sure everybody's up to speed, but we did get a dev stream, the Age of Empires Twitch account did a stream a few days ago with some of the developers to give some more information. So Ottomans, not a whole lot of economic bonuses for them. but they're going to have a lot of unique military techs and be a military focused civ. The devs, one of the devs said, you want to kill them early, so maybe feudal aggression might be the play against them. But yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was just gonna say I'll give a shout out to Agent Noob's videos because he gave like a detailed explanation and really gives a broad base, goes into zoom in, slow-mo details, and
Hmm.
really in and outs of the units. So we're gonna go through a few of them here, but we'll if you want to check those out, just search those and very easy to find.
Hmm. So great bombard. Obviously, look at that big unit there. So it does splash damage. So that's the big thing there. Of course, your standard bombards are a single target damage only. So kind of a unit there that does a lot to buildings, but can also sort of be a mangonel type unit as well. So
We'll just see how that works out. Those things
yeah.
just look massive when you actually see them in the gameplay. You
Hmm.
really get the full scale of how big they are.
Yep. Then they have the meter horse drummer unit. So that's gonna apply a buff to your units, and you can toggle between attack speed, melee armor, or ranged armor. So that's interesting.
Very useful, especially when you think about it. It tells you, you can switch it. It just takes a short cooldown. Well,
Mm.
we might see armies getting split up and whatnot, and then you can use that quite to your advantage, switching between melee, ranged armor, and attack speed.
Yeah. Then they get the Sepahi. I'm probably butchering all these names, but you're just gonna have to deal with it.
I'm so glad you're saying them because I'm just like, I'm sitting back here happy. Just I could just chime in when I want, and you're going
Sure.
with the names, and I have no pronunciation at all.
Yep. So horsemen, and they get an activatable ability where they can do increased damage, but they will take increased melee damage as a consequence. So probably pretty good at raiding, and going to be an even bigger counter to archers than regular horsemen are.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just gonna be. I feel like it's just that charge comes in. They're just gonna be able to shred everything, and it's just
Mhm.
like, all right, well, I had no opportunity to even react and do damage. Like, yes, they take increased damage, but now I have one unit.
Yep. And then a couple things that aren't on this screen here. So they get janissaries, which are hand cannoneers in Castle Age. Um, so obviously they're not going to be as strong as the Imperial Age hand cannoneers, but still should be quite effective. And then they get a building that produces units for free.
Hmm.
And in the dev stream, they said it was one per age. So in Dark Age, you get one, Feudal two, and so on and so forth. So
Hmm.
if you can produce those janissaries from those, I think that's going to be the move.
And I'm sure there's going to end up being Imperial Age upgrades for those Janissaries
Hmm.
to make them a little stronger then, and maybe even some unique techs coming out from some other buildings that we may not have too deep of intel into so
Yeah, they've
far.
talked a little bit about the this system here with the appointing the viziers to the Imperial Council. So that gives them access to 9 unique technologies. So good bet that one of those is for the Janissaries at least.
I would think so. If not, it would be for one of their other unique units, which they have quite a bit of, and so do the other new Civ that has been announced as well.
Yeah, let's flip on over to the Malians here. And interesting looking Civ. So they have no armored units. That's the first thing. And they have gold Uvus, which another they
But
explained
they are
that's
infinite.
another one per age. So you can have multiple as you age up, and they're infinite, and you can still deplete the gold, through mining as well. Um, if you need extra gold there, so they're going to be flush with cash. So be interesting to see how what exactly you can use that on. We do know that uh, the cows, they get their own food source with the cows, and that's going to cost gold. So you
Yep.
kind of convert gold to food.
I
that
am
way.
sure that's going to be a thing, and I'm wondering how they're going to work in team games with a lot of their mechanics. I think they might be quite strong, especially when you consider them being able to, throw gold to other civilizations that can utilize it maybe more effectively.
Hmm. And then, team games trade is more valuable also, and they have outposts that give the extra gold as the trader passes by it. So
Yep.
definitely some interesting mechanics there.
Yeah, so I think they have a pretty cool, unique set of traits, and we're about to see some unique set of units here.
Yep.
Go ahead and
So
shoot.
we got the Musafati warrior. There's also a Musafati gunner. So the warrior is available in feudal, and the gunner is available in imperial. So the gunner is the hand cannoneer replacement, and the warrior is their men at arms replacement, and it's their counter to armored units. And since the javelin thrower replaces the crossbow, I believe it's their only counter uh, to armor.
Yeah, that's one that I was kind of wondering the same thing when I was first looking and reading in, and I think that's one that we'll just have to wait and see until the units actually end up coming out and we see the whole array of everything.
Yep. And they did mention that the archers, I think it's an imperial, get a upgrade where they have poison, so it does the damage over
Oof.
time. So that's probably going to be good against men at arms, I would
I'm
assume.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah. Um, and so the Musafati units, both the warrior and the gunner, have a stealth ability. So that'll be interesting to mess around with.
I mean, I can't imagine how good high elo people are going to be with it, and then I can't imagine how effective it's going to be at low
Oh,
elos
it's
as
gonna
well.
wreck a low
It's
elo.
just everywhere it's going to be effective.
It can be scouted with a tower scout.
Yeah.
So tower your resources. That's
Maybe it might
that's the
finally
move.
force people to utilize some walls and utilize some outposts a little more and
Yeah.
scouting.
Hmm. So the javelin thrower is the crossbow replacement. It's a ranged unit that counters ranged. So kind of a unique unit there. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, they have the extra range, which is kind of the key. A lot of people have been relating it to a AOE2 unit, I believe, and except it actually has extra range, and the AOE2 unit does not.
Mhm.
So I think we're going to see quite a solid use of those, especially against maybe civilizations such as English, where it's mass longbows, and you can just say, all right, my javelin throwers have that same range as your longbows potentially, except they do extra damage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then the Danso is their spearman, which has a ranged attack on cooldown. So you have a Dark Age ranged unit, which could come into play maybe. We've seen with the English men at arms rush that you can't really deny feudal, at least on a land map, but maybe on if someone opens with a dock, you can get a couple of these spearmen out quick enough to kind of harass gold and delay feudal a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a unit that, like, if people just go for that resource that's a little too far out, you could technically go ahead and pressure it down with the Donzo. But obviously, it is a big investment doing anything like that in the Dark Age, as you have to
Mhm.
build the production building and the other unit out of it. So I think you have to really know that you're going to get an investment out of your opponent that's going to be equivalent, or obviously what you want is more of an investment and overcompensation.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's some cheese potential with this Civ, so I'm interested to see what people come up with.
It's going to be a lot of interesting builds, interesting ideas, mechanics, everything involved with it, which is perfect for the game. It's
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like with some of these units we're seeing, we might actually have a French counter, and we're immediately going to need some French buffs. So I think we're going to need like Royal Knights to start automatically coming with chivalry for free, probably, and increase the health.
You're making Reddit really mad right now.
Oh, it's all sarcasm. We all know how loved and hated French is.
That's right. So which civ you looking to try first?
I am more. I feel like the hit and run mechanic is not my style just because I don't have the APM. I'm more of a person that's better with macro behind it. So I feel like I'll be better with Ottomans, but I feel like I want to try Mali.
I definitely want to try sneaking some gold ubus, kind of on the opponent's like back corner gold. See if you can steal some gold from them.
Yeah, I mean that'd be quite funny. I wonder how much damage it is and how much of an investment it is as far as like
Mhm.
resource cost, and how much like health it has. Because I figure it might be pretty easy to kill, like maybe less health than an Uvu, even just because it is such like a valuable thing. I feel like to have infinite gold.
Mhm. For sure. Uh, yeah, I'm really curious to try the Malians first. That's who I'm gonna dive into. They just seem so much different than everything else.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we'll see how good they're gonna be. You're finally gonna maybe you'll find a new main that's not HRE.
I've been playing a lot of English lately.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I've been playing some English lately. Yep. Um, but yeah, so those are the two sips we got, and they've kind of hinted at some more announcements coming in the future. So this, as far as civs go, this is probably it. But might be some more interesting things coming with this DLC. Perhaps the big water rework is coming.
Only time will tell, but I'm excited when water actually will become a little bit balanced. Although I've had some good Boulder Bay games over there with Veggie and some other players in team games.
There you go. Yeah, but
We
yeah.
lost
So
water.
in the trailer, the song they picked was "Smoke on the Water," and then they did have a couple shots of a bunch of ships. So it could happen.
Yeah, smoke on the water.
All right. We did have another monthly for Red Bull, so we did have two more players punch their ticket in. Vortex ends up going through over Hut. Hut didn't make it easy for him.
No,
I
not
think
at all.
I think it was 2-1 in favor of Hut at the beginning there, but Vortex was able to close it out, and he was the heavy favorite out of that bracket. I think everybody picked him to go through, and good to see him. It's not an S tier tournament without Vortex, so
Yeah, I felt like it was kind of one of those. We did the predictions to this weekend, and we all kind of expected Vortex and Wham to be the ones to finally make it through with the potential spot of Lucifron, but obviously didn't make it this way, but did make it another.
that is true. So Wham stops milking the monthlies. He punches his way through. Bit of a throw in game one, maybe, but I don't
It
blame him though.
and it's crazy. Like I can't imagine the mindset after that game. It's game number one, big series, qualifying series, and you have a game that you feel like you've won, and or maybe like I know he said he didn't really know how good Lucifron's opposite side it was, so he didn't really know how aggressive he could be and whatnot. But
Mhm.
the game was won, it felt like, and to have that happen and to finish that game and be down 0-1 when you just should have been up at 1-0. It's just that mindset to get through that and just reverse that
Yeah.
and 4-0 right back is just pretty crazy.
I feel like it would have been worse if he had time to like really watch. I don't know if he watched the replay in between games, but it was like, oh no, I had like a 50 villager lead. I shouldn't have done that.
Oh no, I don't think that's a thing you do. I think you immediately just erase that out of your mind. You get
Yep.
yourself to the next game and you move on along and get to your game plan. Hey, okay, what civ matchup do I want next map? What do I need to
Yep.
plan on?
Yeah. Don't blame him for trying to do the landmark snipe there. I mean, my win rate in those 50-minute stalemate games is abysmal because I just lose patience and do something like that.
Yeah, it's a headache of a game. I think 50 minutes is too long. I think 30 minutes is usually when my patience starts running thin and I'm like, all right, like should I just forfeit? Should I just
Yep.
landmark snipe? Like I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Oh, he did have the game on Frisian Marches where he towered the forward gold and then Because the two girls were right next to each other. He put the TC in between them. I was like, oh, that's so mean. But it worked.
It did work. So moving on along, and excited to see that he gets to join his good old twin brother.
Yep.
And he's not left out from the trip to Germany. I'm sure he would have still gone, but still.
Of course, yeah. And as you alluded to earlier, Lucifron does end up going through after all. So we do have both sets of brothers going to Heidelberg. So now we're going to talk about the not so fun stuff. So B has been banned from Red Bull. Lucifron taking that spot because I believe that's who B beat in the monthly to qualify. So they gave it to Lucifron. As according to Red Bull, it was due to a violation of the rules, and that's basically all they've said. Speculation that he's been using, third-party software to map hack, or maybe he's just exploiting some game mechanics. Don't know for sure, but not a good situation.
Yeah, it's really not a good situation on either side. I feel like, obviously we see all the aftermath of it. I've tried to stay out of it from, all the nonstop chatting because I feel like it doesn't really help and do much of anything. Like, people have come out with their opinions. We've seen a lot of more important people than us videos who have made big YouTube videos about it and given either their opinion or kind of objective stance on it. And I hadn't really kind of talked too much about it until a little bit earlier today. I had a conversation with one of the somewhat top players, and then that's kind of when I thought about it a little more. So there's opinions on both sides. I feel like I don't really know where you stand on it.
I don't know. Like, I understand that we're not I understand the reasons why they're not being explicit at what they found, because it ended up being Microsoft and Red Bull launched their own investigation, and we don't know what they found. So if there was hard evidence of an exploit, well, then they don't want that out there in order to kind of make that more prevalent, which I understand that, but it's just no closure from the community, which is, just a tough spot to be in.
I mean, if people didn't know it's out there, they definitely do now, because obviously everyone has already talked about it a ton. But I think, there's two really things that I would say they did poorly, which one obviously is not giving any sort of details. Like, you don't have to go into all your ins and outs of what your investigation was and the evidence and everything. Just tell what he got disqualified for. Plain and simple, whether it's the violation of the handbook in what way. Did he map hack? Did he with different third parties? Is it just the reveal on the mini map where you can see the resource nodes, or was it just some exploiting of game mechanics? Like you said, there's a lot of different things, and I think just small clarification there would have gone a long way, because reputation, his livelihood is kind of on the line here. And there's a big difference between map hacking and using game mechanics that could be interpreted as fine, considering, previous tournaments and things like that. And then the second thing I think they did poorly was getting the players involved. I think if it's a Microsoft and Red Bull investigation and behind the scenes, they keep it behind the scenes. You're asking direct competition if, their opinions on it. And some of these players already have previous opinions of the player. So there's not really an objective stance as much. And as much as people want to say it, it's not objective, which is what needs to be in an investigation when this much is on the line. Yeah. And that's the opinion on that side. That's like the objective take. But obviously, there are questions in a lot of the games and stuff that can be justified in a way, but at the same time, some of the ways of the justification is technically an exploit.
Yeah. Yeah. B did come out. He said he's going to stream tomorrow, and he's going to try to address, some of these allegations that have been made against him. The one I really want to see is how he knows where the deer are, because I can't make heads or tails of his explanation of that. using, he's able to hear it somehow through the fog of war.
I think it's going to be very annoying tomorrow in that stream because it's going to
Yeah.
be one of those things that like he finds the deer in let's say 20 seconds and people are going to be like, "Oh, look at that, see?" And then if he finds the deer in 30 seconds, they're like, "Oh, see?" And you're just like, "What the hell?" Like that part isn't accomplishing stuff. I think the part that will accomplish stuff will be him talking, answering questions, as well as just if he continues to stream and continues to play and continues to show his strategies, because one of the arguments on the opposite side from the players was that he came out of nowhere after not playing any ladder games and he doesn't play well on ladder. Well, I know people who don't play well on ladder or they try new strats on ladder because they don't want to show their actual legit strategies. So, like I said, there's kind of always a justification for each side. And when there's this much money on the line, I mean, we're from America. We live on the you're innocent until proven guilty without like, a doubt. And there's a lot of doubts. So it's hard to say anything without evidence, which we won't see. But if they told us anything, I would be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, it's just a big bummer because I liked watching B a lot, even way back in like the Winter Stays On when he was doing well, like 6 months ago. And there,
Yeah, and that's where, there's a ton of players that played really streaky. They look B won like 4 events earlier on in the year and then didn't do that well. And everyone was talking about, oh, he was like the next man up for N4C. He was the next man up for Golden League. Like, he was like always like the person who was the just out. And then he finally started elevating and again, and then this happens. And there's other players who went streaky and did really well and then came out of nowhere and or did really bad.
that's kind of what this was. So at Golden League,
You're in and out a little bit.
hold on. There we go. Yeah. So in Golden League, he got like 9th, right? So he was still a good player back then, just not able to kind of beat the top guys consistently. And then all of a sudden he starts winning these Red Bull weeklies. But assuming he wasn't cheating, back before he made that jump, he didn't even need to do any of this to qualify for Red Bull. Like I think he was good enough on his own merit based on his performances in Golden League and prior to Golden League to be top 16. So I don't know. He didn't like it was not even necessary for him to qualify to kind of cheat or use these exploits. So
Yeah, and that's the question is, if he has been using these exploit, how long has it been or how, big has it been? Because obviously we've gone through a lot of different metas with a lot of different exploits and a lot of different things, but I don't really know what to ultimately think about it until it's done. Um it's just, there's questions on both sides and there's going to be a lot of questions for a while. I don't think there's going to be a ton of answers. You're in and out again. Uh-oh. Well,
explanation kind of how he's able to see through fog of war is when the Palisade wall trick. And I've known about this for a long time too, because I tried to place a TC once and it wouldn't let me put it down. I was like, well, that's weird. And then I walked over there and there was a scout there. So I was like, oh, well, you
I've
can.
seen it. I've seen it plenty of
Yeah,
times
so
where
I thought that was common knowledge, but I guess it wasn't. So now
and
everybody knows that you can use building blueprints to scout the entire map. And
yeah, I
if
think the big difference is if you're using your wall to build if you're using your wall to build like and on the edge of a forest where a wall would be built, or if you're just hovering it over the mini map where STC would be or resources would be or whatnot.
yeah,
That's the big difference, and that's to where is that being used, is that's what's happening, and it's
yeah.
hard to
Well,
tell without.
and I think from the tournament organizers, they would say that that's against the rules. But now, how do you prove that? So And so now that everybody knows that this is a thing, anytime there's something fishy, there might be allegations thrown around.
You should. I mean, there have been a lot of messages already sent to tournament organizers that I know that are like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm not investigating 35 different players because you think they just got lucky with 12 sheep."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would stink to go this route, but I mean, if I was a player that like had a chance at qualifying for Red Bull, I would be recording my perspective of every game just to defend myself. And
Yeah, the hard part is that takes computer I mean, I guess unless you're doing it with like a digital camera behind you, then
it
that's
does,
usually
yeah.
yeah.
But
Then like usually you're utilizing something and people don't always have that capability.
yeah, that's true. But so it just sucks because like I mean, you can do a lot with like a blueprint of like a mill or a market. You can go and see if they've moved out to their second berry patch or their second gold mine.
Yeah, I felt like you could already do that with deer though, and you can already do that with
Well,
boar,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
so
So you,
like
you can see the deer disappear from the mini map. So why is that okay versus scouting with a building blueprint? You're kind of in the
it's
gray
and
area there.
there we go. And that's where it's just like, that's where I just, I'm not big or high enough to deal with any of these questions. And I'm just like, let them deal with it.
Yep.
But yeah,
That's Petito's job.
it's not Petito. That's where it's not EGC TV at all. It's not,
Well,
it's, it's the higher up people. It's the Microsoft and
yeah,
Wololo people. And that's
sure.
where that's like the biggest thing about this is everyone's like, oh, who is it? Like it's this, it's Beastie, it's technically it's the higher up people. It's not the players. It wasn't the tournament admins as far as like Petito or Pesty or anyone like that. It was way up hires.
Yeah. I mean,
But
who like we'll never know. Maybe Microsoft has hard evidence that there was a map hack involved, and then if that's the case, well, then that's obviously not okay.
and that's where the big difference arises. This is like
Hmm.
yeah, I think, and they could have said third party exploit, and then no one really knows the exact details of it. They
Hmm.
just know something was there, and we know, okay, it wasn't just smaller things like using palisade walls. It was something a lot bigger that was very, very intentional to cheat the game and actually win, compared
Yeah.
to like a gray area, let's say.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, B is gonna stream tomorrow. I'm gonna try and watch it. It's gonna be a shit show. I already know that going in, but there's
I
there's a
have a
couple
busy
things.
day, but
There's a
I'll
couple
try.
things I'm curious about to see if he addresses and if he can make a sensible explanation that people can like replicate, then that
I
would go a
just
long way, I think.
Yeah, I just think a lot of the points on the opposite side, people don't think of the whole story sometimes, where it's like, oh, he's looking in the fog of war. It's like, I know people look in the fog of war all the time, like, including pros. Like, when you're watching streams, people click their scouts into the fog of war, but when you're watching their observer mode, you're not seeing their mouse click. So you don't see if they're controlling a scout or they're just looking into vision for no reason that
Hmm.
might have vision. But yeah, it's all a crazy dramatic situation that has ignited a lot of the population.
Yeah, yeah. Reddit and the EGC Discord has been pretty spicy the last couple days, so I'm sure this will keep going on for a while.
Yeah, I've seen a couple people that have had to have a lot of chats removed and maybe removed from chats themselves. But maybe people will start to rein it in a little bit and have civil discussions.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately everyone does just want to know, and it's
Yep.
hard to do that.
Yep. Well, I'm sure there's going to be more to come out of this story, so we'll just kind of leave it there for now. But any new news on the Low Elo Legends front?
I mean, yeah, I guess it's gonna start coming out sooner and sooner. We're starting to announce things like slowly, things week after week. So the first big thing this week is we have a high elo heroes, I guess is what it's called, just an open bracket on Saturday, It starts a couple hours after Wololo, so I think it's like 2 o'clock Central, something like that. And so it's just open bracket, maybe get some of those people who trickle in, lose some of their bracket games in Wololo, and just have a nice, cool open tournament. It allows ATR points. And then in the future down the road a little bit, we are combining with War Chief Club. We will be under one unified name of Rising Empires, and we will have that all and build that up together, and we'll kind of start into a play in to a Sunday 8 game, like 8 people play in. So War Chief Club will kind of stay the same, and then Saturday the open bracket will have 2 people that come out of the play in, and then Sunday that'll be a total of 8. So 2 from each play, or 2 from each War Chief, and then 2 from the Saturday.
Very cool.
So a lot of things, a lot of updates, but the biggest thing is go sign up for the open bracket or some of the actual low elo tiered brackets this Saturday right there, or play in the Red Bull Wololo and play in the open bracket. Best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely a cool opportunity for anybody looking to just get some games in a more structured setting. Gotta test out your civ pool a little bit.
You definitely have to play random civ a lot more. I mean, you don't have to, but I think that it helps you a lot playing more than just one civilization. You really learn how to play against the civilization when you play as them.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, especially if you think something's really OP and then you try it and it gets shut down. And you're like, oh, that's how you defend this.
Yeah, that's playing against your own strategy. You're like, oh, you learn like the little poke the little holes in your strategy, and then you can kind of learn to be like, okay, that's what beats it. Well, how do I beat that now? And then so on and so forth.
Yep, the never-ending process of improving. So
yeah, rock, paper, scissors.
That's correct. So Janissary, yeah.
Yeah, see, we're gonna it's gonna be a big Venn diagram of everything.
That's right. So yeah, everybody sign up for Low Elo Legends. Ton of fun. And got anything else you want to plug this week?
I think well, Monday, Blade 5-5.
Oh, that's right.
5 versus an AOE2 Legend of Tato. So we got a good little show match going on. It's going to be a best of 7. Loser picks the map. Just kind of pretty typical land maps. Not a ton of hybrid unless you include mirror random and mirror random and mega random. But that's only if they choose those, which I doubt it.
Oh, someone's got to pick mirror random. I love me some mirror random.
Hey, we might see Tato try to change it up. I will say I had a mega random yesterday that the whole entire opposite side, one person was walled in with 2 deep sea fish lakes and 2 forests that connected to like the smallest connecting wall point that you had to do. And he was Roos with deep sea fish, and you couldn't dock the opposite side.
Oh,
like
no.
most unfair map you could ever get in mega random. It was like, all right, we lost. Like he was Imperial very fast, and we couldn't pressure at all.
Yep. Well, I'm gonna slide into Blade's DMs and say if he doesn't pick mirror random, I'm gonna be very mad.
Yeah, and I think B Dodd will be joining me on the co-cast on Monday too, so even better.
Very cool. What time does that start?
12 o'clock Central.
12 o'clock Central.
That's like
it's Memorial Day. Oh, yeah. For us Americans. Hey, I'll have the day off.
There you go. So tune on in and get to see some good old Blade versus Tato.
All right. Yeah, sounds like fun. So I think that's going to do it for this week. A spicy week for sure. But we'll be back.
Things will calm down.
Yeah, things will calm down, but probably not for another week or two. But we'll be back at some point. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.